Hello, my name is Markus Stiglegger and I'm a professor of film studies in Berlin, Germany. In the following video essay, I would like to talk about the relation between the film Nekromantik 2 by Jörg Buttgereit and Berlin, where this film was shot in the year 1990. When I first saw the film Nekromantik 2 on a VHS tape in about 1992, I guess, it first appeared to me as a film about a team of filmmakers falling in love with the main actress Monica M. On the second viewing, it was more about the all-day problems that arise when you desire a corpse. But when you see this film like 2 decades later, it is more like a document about an era long gone by. It's about the myth of Berlin, about Berlin as a city of two faces, a city and the dark double of this city at the same time. Jörg Buttgereit grew up in West Berlin in the 1970s and 80s, and he was part of the punk, post-punk movement, the no-wave scene and the post-industrial era. It is the place where after David Bowie, other people came to create very stunning artworks, people like Nick Cave, and it was the place of einstürzende Neubauten and all those people. And when Jörg Buttgereit started to document that scene, he made a film about this great club, SO36, which still exists, but it used to be a legendary punk club, and all the artists appeared there. He started something which he continued on a more subtle level in his feature films. West Berlin appeared like a Western, a capitalist island within the realm of socialism. West Berlin was isolated. You could only get there via an isolated highway or via the air. But Berlin was the walled city. It was closed in. It had different laws. As a male youth, you could go there, and when you lived at Berlin, you didn't have to do military services back then, for example. And it was a place of very huge creative energy. So West Berlin in the 1980s is a subcultural and even a cultural myth today. At the same time, you were able to ask, what is on the other side of the wall? This kind of dark double of this stunning city of West Berlin, which was East Berlin, was a city of, as you might remember, a cliché like rundown buildings, of barbed wire, of people in military uniforms that closely resembled Nazi uniforms, actually. So it was like living very close to a concentration camp, actually. That was the impression. And when the wall fell, Berlin began to change, and that was a kind of a nightmare growing for people being part of the West Berlin scene, because all the clubs went down, all the scenes changed, more tourists came, other people began appearing, and the mortgage rates went higher and so on. So it was not the place it used to be. And when the film Nekromantik 2 was shot, you clearly see it is shot in the newly discovered rundown areas of Eastern Berlin, or former Eastern Berlin. So you see a lot of gray, a lot of depressing architecture. You see cars of the brand Trabant, which was very usual in Eastern Germany. And you see the old electric trains, which were slowly disappearing around that time. So this film is at the same time a document of a world which is slowly fading away. If you see this film as a kind of a dream, because it begins actually as a kind of dream. It is the dream of a necropolis, of a city of the dead. And logically it begins within a cemetery, and these bright sunlit images, which are underlaid by very harmonic piano music. This beginning is a strong contrast to all the urban images which you will see later. Even when the love story between Monika and Margrete begins, they visit very depressing places, and places reminiscent of the socialist past, like the Sputnik Kino. Or they are in this wonder wheel, and all you see in the background is this huge chimney, this industrial monument. So the most idyllic part of the film actually is the beginning, which takes place in a cemetery. And so this cemetery is also a metaphor for this potential city of the dead. And to carry this metaphor even further, you could say that the dead corpse, which is desired by Monika and which she gets home actually, and it is slowly decaying, this is a metaphor for the old West Berlin, for the city which was once so great and then died. And Margrete plays the actual lover, the living lover in that respect, which is the status quo of the city at that time where it takes place. So you have the old Berlin and you have the Berlin of that time. And it totally makes sense when out of this connection in the very bloody final scene, Monika gets the message that she is pregnant and something new will arise out of those ruins. So her baby might be considered a metaphor for the uncertain future of Berlin. Seen in this perspective, Nekromantik 2 is a kind of romantic story about growing out of the ruins and building something new, but with a very morbid kind of metaphorical background. So at the same time, it is a unique document of images which won't be possible for much longer, because as you might have realized when you visit Berlin, it has totally changed. It is a very modern city now. And all those relics of the former East Berlin, and even the relics of the once very creative, energetic impulse of the 1980s West Berlin begin to disappear. Yet something new arises, and we'll see what will happen. Thank you very much, and goodbye.